Welcome to Medicine for the Soul Wellness. My name is Allie Watson, and today we will be moving through a Thursday tune-up. You will need 2 blocks for this practice, and we will meet back on our mats. So once you have those blocks, you're going to go ahead and get seated. You can choose to take Sukhasana or maybe seated on your knees with the hips sinking back onto the heels if that is comfortable for you. Hands placed down onto the knees, closing down the eyes here. Just coming in to the space without any preconceived judgments or expectations. And letting go of any stress that you might feel around even just taking a class like this. As you close the eyes and your chest rises and falls, try to pay attention to that breath as we will be moving with our breath here. If you would like to set an intention for your practice, now is the time. Maybe something that you can hold on to when the mind begins to wander towards negativity. Once you have that intention, go ahead and take a deep inhale in through the nose and exhale out through the mouth. Inhaling the good and exhaling the bad. You can choose to keep the eyes closed or maybe just a soft gaze out in front of you. We're going to just move through some neck movements here. So as you inhale, chin comes parallel to the mat, rolling the shoulders back and down, making sure that the spine is long. And then as you exhale, you're going to round your back, tuck the chin in towards the chest, feeling that stretch across the back of the neck. Go ahead and inhale back up to that straight spine. So not quite really a cat-cow per se, but just really allowing the chin to tuck into the chest and that rounding feeling. And exhale, chin tucks in towards chest, rounding. Inhale, chin lifts up. And exhale, chin goes down. On your next inhale, as you come up, we are going to meet in tabletop position on all fours. So coming onto hands and knees. Hands stack underneath the shoulders, knees stack underneath the hips. Long spine, navel tucks in towards that spine, igniting the core. As you inhale, you're going to drop the belly, gaze lifts for cow pose. And then as you exhale, chin tucks into chest, round and curl. Moving slowly. Inhale. And exhale. 2 more like that on your own pace, and we will meet back into that neutral spine. Coming back into that neutral spine. You're going to go ahead and tuck the toes, lift the knees, send the hips up and back into downward facing dog, making sure that all 10 fingers and toes are pointed forward here. Now, you can take a deep bend in the knees here to start off your downward facing dog, creating space, being able to lift the hips up higher.
If you already have a lot of flexibility in your calves and your ankles are firmly planted on the ground, try and lift up those 10 toes if you can, making sure that the quadriceps are engaged. 3 breaths here. Seeing if you can keep that length through your spine, lifting the hips up high. Last breath. And on your next inhale, high tippy toes, deep bend in the knees, looking forward at the top of your mat. Go ahead and walk to your feet to meet your hands slowly. Maybe taking that ragdoll position in your forward fold, so feet come hips width apart, deep bend in the knees, elbows clasp one another, and maybe you sway from side to side. Go ahead and inhale, halfway lift. Hands can come to shins or blocks. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root to rise. Reach those arms up overhead as you come up for mountain pose. Maybe your gaze follows your thumbs. And exhale, hands to heart center. Bring those hands behind you, interlacing the fingers, sending the palms to touch. Shoulders roll down and back. Maybe you take a back bend here, really puffing out the chest, sending the hips forward, stretching the back and the tops of the thighs. And exhale, coming back up. Keeping that clasp in your hands. You're going to want to send your hands away from your tailbone as you fold forward. So just allowing yourself to fold forward, lifting your knuckles off of your back. Weight is in the heels here. And go ahead and slowly release to a forward fold. Hands to plant on the mat. And inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. We're going to go ahead and step that left foot back into a low lunge. Back knee drops, back toes untuck here. Now, if you have blocks, you can go ahead and take them on either side if the ground feels a bit far away from you, making sure that that knee is in line with the ankle. We're going to stay right here, really sinking into the hips, and you want to almost square your hips forward so that they are both even and you feel that stretch across the front left of your thigh. Moving with the breath here, we're going to inhale here into that lunge. And as you exhale, send those hips back into half splits, maybe taking the blocks with you. Inhale as you come forward into that lunge. And exhale, half splits, making sure to flex the toes up towards the sky here. Inhale, coming forward. And exhale, coming back. One last time, coming forward. And exhale, sinking those hips back. Inhale, coming forward. You can ditch the blocks here. We're going to power up that back leg, tucking the back toes, lifting that back leg up. And we're going to pivot that back foot down, coming towards the horizontal edge of our mat. Heels go in, toes come out, coming up into goddess pose. So really opening out the thighs here. Hands can come to the knees, or maybe hands come to heart center. Go ahead and drop that right elbow down towards your thigh, inhaling that left arm up and over. And then coming back to center, hands at heart center. Dropping down that left elbow, taking a breath in, sending that right arm up and over. And coming back to center.
On your next inhale, go ahead and straighten those legs, bring those arms up overhead. Now you're going to turn those toes in so that they are parallel to the long edge of your mat. Taking an inhale here, and exhale, hands come to hips, folding forward, wide-legged forward fold. Hands can come down onto the mat. Relax the head, relax the neck. Good. Go ahead and inhale, hands come back to your hips, lifting up halfway, testing to see if you feel dizzy or not. And then as you slowly come up to standing, you're going to step towards the top of your mat. Inhale, arms reach up overhead, mountain pose. Exhale, hands to heart center, Tadasana. Excuse me, Tadasana is not that. Hands to your heart center. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead. And exhale, folding forward. We're going to go ahead and inhale, halfway lift. Hands come to shins or blocks. Exhale, bringing it all back down. One more time. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, you're going to want to step that right foot back this time, coming into that low lunge. Dropping down the back knee, untucking the back toes, maybe bringing your blocks with you if the ground feels far away. Also, the blocks have 3 settings, so if this feels too much, you can always bring it up onto the medium height. Once again, really feeling into the squaring of your hips. You really want to make sure that you're feeling a stretch in your right hip. And then we're just going to bring some movement back into our hips. So once again, just really following with your breath. You do not have to follow along with me. If you want to move slower or faster, that is a-okay. So as you inhale, you're in that low lunge. And then as you exhale, sending the hips back, flexing those left toes up towards the sky, half splits. Ardha Hanumanasana. Inhale, coming forward. And exhale, sending those hips back, really thinking about how your hips are moving in this position and how your hamstrings are feeling right now. Inhale, coming forward. And exhale, sending those hips back. One more time, inhale, forward. Exhale, sending those hips back. And coming forward. You can ditch those blocks once more, but keep them handy. Hands to plant, tucking that back toe, powering up through the back leg. You're going to spin that back heel down. And we're going to turn once again towards the horizontal edge of the mat. Heels come in, toes come out. Goddess pose. Hands come to your heart center. Now go ahead and bring those hands down towards your thighs. You're just going to sink one shoulder in at a time. So first you're going to send that right shoulder down towards the center, looking over your left shoulder. Coming back through center, switching sides, left shoulder comes forward, looking over that right shoulder. Inhale, center. Exhale, switch. Inhale, coming back through center. And exhale, switch. Back through center, hands come back to your heart center. Take a full round of breath here, really feeling the power in your thighs right now. If they are burning, that means it works. And then on your next inhale, straighten those legs, straighten those arms. Sometimes we call this star pose. Bring your hands to your hips, parallel those toes towards one another, and then fold forward in your own time. You can maybe grab the ankles, maybe widen your stance here, bringing your head down to the mat,
if that fancies you. Just finding some release here. Weight is in the toes. Once again, we're just going to test our balance and dizziness here by bringing your hands to your hips and inhaling up halfway before we come all the way up. If you feel okay, go ahead and come all the way up and step to the top of the mat. All right, bring those hands up overhead. Maybe the gaze follows your thumbs. And then exhale, bring those hands behind you, interlacing the fingers, pressing the palms together, and then rolling the shoulders back, maybe finding an arch as you press the knuckles away from the tailbone. Inhale, coming back up to standing. Exhale, you can choose to keep the clasp here if you would like, but you can also release as you come down. Into forward fold. If you have that clasp over your head, go ahead and release. Hands come to plant, step the feet back into downward facing dog. If you would like to clear the slate, you can always move through a vinyasa or maybe stay in a child's pose for a moment. I'm just going to keep going and hope that my lovely boss cuts this out. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know why it keeps slipping. Okay, I'm just going to say the same thing again. Maybe I should just do it this way. Okay. Okay. I'm continuing now. I lost a minute or 30 seconds, I think, so we're just going to continue. Sorry about that. Okay. So I'm just going to start from downward facing dog. You can either choose to take a vinyasa to clear the slate, or maybe you can come down to a child's pose for a moment. If you would like to continue, go ahead and step that right foot in between your hands, dropping down that back knee, untucking the back toes. So we moved back and forth quite a bit between half splits and low lunge. Here, we're going to have the option to stretch our splits. So if you know your limit and you're maxed out at half splits, you can totally stay right there. In fact, I might even stay there depending how I feel. So that option is available to you. So go ahead and send those hips back into half splits, really flexing those toes. Now you can bring your blocks. I suggest bringing your blocks by your hips here. And I'm going to put mine on the medium height because I don't have my splits yet. And that's okay. So we're hanging out here in half splits, just really getting a feel for our hamstrings. Be cautious when you move forward. We don't want to overstretch our hamstrings. So with that being said, go ahead and come up. And we're just going to send our heel forward. Hands can be on the blocks or the earth. Heel forward, toes back. And keep going until you found your stopping point. Maybe you walk the blocks forward a bit. And we're going to hold right here at your stopping point for about 45 seconds. Try to keep your hips square. Front foot is flexed, quadriceps are engaged, and see if you can take some of the pressure out of your hands. You really want to focus on engaging the hips here. That's why we stretched the hips. That's why we did all those movements to prepare you for this. Maybe with each exhale, you sink a bit deeper. You got this. Try to stay with it. Try to keep that long spine. If you are already in your splits, try to reach those arms up overhead. Really allowing yourself to sink down to the mat, lifting those arms up,
tests how square your hips are. Last few breaths, you got this. And to come out of it, we're just going to try and make our way back into half splits. So bringing that ankle, sliding it back into half splits. You might be in a different position in your mat. And then coming forward to that low lunge. And then eventually, moving the blocks away for a moment, we're going to come back into downward facing dog. So tucking that back toe, sending the left foot back to meet the right in downward facing dog. Whew. How are we feeling? Check in with how you're doing. Take a deep bend in the knees, coming up onto your high tippy toes, and allow the knees to come down to your mat at the exact same time, untucking the toes. Hips sink back onto the heels. Hands placed down into the lap. Before we continue sides, before we continue with maybe a more flexible or a less flexible side of your body, try to take your ego out of it. It's a big ask. Just try to remember that every time that you do something like this, every time that you try your splits, you are progressing. Every attempt is progress. So try to remember that and be kind to yourself. Go ahead and flutter the eyes open if they were closed, meeting back in downward facing dog, tucking the toes, sending the hips up and back. All right, left side. So as you inhale, go ahead and step that left foot between your hands, dropping down that back knee, untucking the back toes. Bringing those blocks with you, we're gonna send those hips back into half splits and just hang out there for a second. Check in with this side. Check in with how you're feeling. You got this. Make sure that your toes are flexed. Make sure that the hamstrings aren't feeling overstretched here. If it feels painful at any point, that's a sign to back out a layer. Now you can stay right here, but if you would like to move into your splits, bring your blocks by your hips. And you're gonna send that left foot forward, really digging that heel in towards your mat. And then you're going to simultaneously send that right foot back until you found your stopping point. And that looks different for everybody. Maybe adjusting the blocks. Hips are square as best as they can. If we do a split with open hips, we have to work twice as hard. If we do it the hard way first, we don't have to do it again. Breathing here, 45 seconds. You got this. And if you're in your splits, once again, maybe lifting up one of those hands, or maybe both. Deep breaths. Remember why you came to your mat today. To build a habit, to take time for yourself. Engaging that quadricep, flexing those toes. And go ahead and coming back into that half splits, pressing into the earth or into your blocks, sending that front heel back into your starting position. Coming forward into that low lunge, ditching the blocks, tucking those back toes and sending yourself back into downward facing dog for one last time. Maybe pedal out the feet. Maybe your ankles can touch the mat now. 3 breaths. Last breath. Go ahead and come up onto your high tippy toes, deep bend in the knees. And the knees come down towards your mat at the exact same time. Crossing those legs, coming into Sukhasana. We're just going to bring those legs out in front of us. Last little forward fold action we're going to do here is Paschimottanasana. So you're going to go ahead and sway from side to side, removing the fleshy parts from underneath the sitting bones, flexing through the feet or pointing, whatever you prefer. Reaching those arms up overhead, take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, go ahead and fold forward over those legs. Breathing here, knowing how much you've accomplished today. And allowing this to feel good, so if you want to round your spine, go ahead and be my guest, round your spine. If you want to let go of the flexion in your feet and just make this completely passive, that's also a great option here. A few breaths here. On your next inhale, slowly make yourself back up to your seated position. And we are going to make our way onto our backs. So bending the knees, rolling back into a comfortable position, bringing the knees in towards your chest here, rocking from side to side. And then the next time your knees drift over towards the right, just allow them to go all the way towards the right, bent as they are, for a supine twist. Arms come out by their sides into a T or to a cactus, whatever you prefer. Being mindful of that left shoulder, making sure that it is grounded onto your yoga mat. And we're just going to stay here on our backs. Maybe closing down the eyes because there is nothing else to see but the ceiling here. Go ahead and bring those knees back through center and allow them to drift over towards the left for a twist. Once again, being mindful of that right shoulder, keeping it glued down onto your mat. Deep breaths. Knees come back through center. Go ahead and wrap your arms around them, hugging them in one last time. And then on your next exhale, let it all go. Allow your feet to just lay out in front of you, your legs to stretch out long, arms come out by their sides, palms facing up for receiving, down for grounding. Now's the time to close your eyes and slow down your breathing, tuning inward. Thank yourself for showing up today. You can give yourself a little mental pat on the back for going through this class and for believing in yourself. Relaxing every muscle in your body, feeling the earth beneath you as your body sinks deeper and deeper into it. You did amazing work today. I encourage you to stay in Shavasana and take a full Shavasana if you have nowhere else to be. That extra 3 to 5 minutes can really do wonders. But if that is all the time you have today and you need to get going on with the rest of your day, bring your hands in a prayer position in front of your heart. I thank you for showing up today, for showing up for yourself, and for allowing me to guide you through your practice. The light in me honors and sees the light within each and every one of you. We bow forward to seal our practice. Namaste.